The studio buzzed with quiet anticipation. Audience members fidgeted in their seats, some clutching their phones in hopes of capturing a royal moment gone viral. On paper, it was a standard daytime interview, a promotional spot for Prince Harry's latest charity campaign. Expected to be polite, maybe emotional, but controlled. What no one knew was that beneath Harry's tailored navy suit and carefully practiced smiles, a storm had already begun to form. Welcome back to the Marianne Cole Show. Kat Doyle beamed into the camera, her voice warm and inviting. We're thrilled to have Prince Harry here with us today to discuss his incredible humanitarian work. She turned to Harry with genuine enthusiasm. Your recent trip to South Africa. Tell us about that moment when you met the young girl who changed your perspective on hope. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Harry's face softened, the practiced royal charm taking over. Amara was 7 years old, and despite losing her family to disease, she had this light in her eyes. She taught me that hope isn't about having everything. It's about believing tomorrow can be different. The audience smiled collectively, phones already capturing the heartfelt moment. But Marianne Cole, seated across from Harry, watched with calculating eyes. She glanced at her notes, then at the small piece of paper a producer had slipped her during the commercial break. "That's beautiful," Marianne interjected smoothly, her smile never wavering. "And how important is trust in that kind of work? Building relationships across cultures, across personal boundaries." Harry's jaw tightened, almost imperceptibly. In the control room, Evan Torres received a message through his headset that made him straighten in his chair. The calm was about to end. "Trust is everything," Harry replied, his voice measured but cautious now. "Whether you're working with communities in need or maintaining personal relationships under public scrutiny, trust is the foundation." Marianne leaned forward slightly, her pen tapping against her notepad. "Speaking of relationships under scrutiny, fame certainly makes it harder to maintain authentic connections, doesn't it? The constant spotlight, the tabloid speculation." "It does," Harry acknowledged, shifting in his seat. "But when you're committed to someone, when your values align, you find ways to protect what matters. Loyalty isn't just a word, it's a choice you make every day." The audience murmured approvingly, but Marianne's expression sharpened. "Loyalty," she repeated, letting the word hang in the air. "That's interesting, because there's been some recent tabloid buzz about—" "There's always tabloid buzz," Harry interrupted, his diplomatic mask slipping slightly. "That's nothing new." Kat glanced between them, sensing the shift in energy. In the booth, Evan hesitated, his finger hovering over the switch that would cut to their scheduled video segment. The producer's voice in his ear was urgent. "Let it play out." "Of course," Marianne continued, her tone deceptively casual. "But some stories carry more weight than others, don't they? Some have evidence behind them." Harry's eyes narrowed. "Evidence of what exactly?" The studio fell silent. Even the camera operator sensed something was building. Lydia Hart, sitting in the third row, leaned forward in her seat, her excitement palpable. This wasn't the polite interview she had expected. Marianne set down her pen deliberately, her movement slow and calculated. "Well, Harry, that's exactly what I'd like to discuss with you today." The air in the studio changed. Harry's relaxed posture vanished, replaced by the rigid alertness of someone sensing danger. Marianne's voice cut through the silence like a blade. "Harry, I have to ask you about something that's come to our attention. Credible sources have brought forward what they claim is evidence of an affair. Photographs taken just 3 weeks ago of you with an unidentified woman in what appears to be an intimate setting." The studio erupted. Gasps rippled through the audience like a wave. Someone dropped their phone. Lydia Hart's mouth opened in shock. In the control room, Evan Torres froze as his finger hovered over the control panel. The control room's voice in his headset was urgent. "Are you serious right now?" "I wouldn't bring this up lightly," Marianne replied, "but given your public position, your advocacy for family values, don't you think the public deserves to know the truth? I have the photograph right here, and I'm prepared to show it unless you'd like to comment first." "This is unbelievable," Harry said, his voice rising. He looked around the studio as if seeing it clearly for the first time. This is what this is about? Not my charity work, not the people we're trying to help, but some fabricated scandal? Kat tried to intervene. "Harry, if you'd like to take a moment." "No," he said firmly, his eyes locked on Marianne. "I want to know what game we're playing here. Are we here to discuss how to make the world better, or are we here to destroy people for entertainment?" The audience was completely silent now, hanging on every word. Phones were recording from every angle. Mark and Janelle, the security staff, took subtle steps closer to the stage area. Marianne remained perfectly composed, her training in handling explosive moments evident. "We're here to have an honest conversation, Harry. And sometimes honesty is uncomfortable." "Honesty?" Harry's voice cracked with disbelief. "You call ambushing someone on live television with unverified gossip honesty?" The tension was so thick it seemed to vibrate through the studio. Evan's phone was buzzing incessantly with messages from network executives, but he couldn't look away from the monitors showing Harry's face, a mixture of fury and something that looked dangerously close to desperation. Marianne held up a manila envelope. "The photograph is right here, Harry. Would you like to see it before we continue?" Harry stared at the manila envelope like it was a loaded weapon. His voice, when he found it, was dangerously quiet. "You really think you're going to blackmail me on live television?" "This isn't blackmail," Marianne replied smoothly. "This is journalism. The public has the right to know when someone they admire might be living a lie." "The public deserves honesty," Harry shot back, his composure cracking, "not gossip dressed up as truth by someone desperate for ratings." The audience erupted. Half the audience began applauding Harry, the other half murmuring in disapproval. Lydia Hart jumped to her feet, her voice cutting through the noise. "Let him speak. You ambushed him." More applause thundered through the room. Harry looked directly at Lydia, then swept his gaze across the entire audience. "Thank you," he said, his voice carrying over the din. "At least someone here remembers basic human decency." Marianne waited for the noise to die down, her expression unchanged. "Human decency works both ways, Harry. What about decency toward the people who support you, who believe in the image you present?" "What image?" Harry's voice was rising now, his hands gesturing sharply. "The image of someone trying to do good in the world? The image of someone who's been through hell and came out fighting for others? That's not an image. That's my life." Kat attempted to step in again. "Maybe we should—" "No," Harry cut her off, never taking his eyes off Marianne. "She wants to play this game, let's play it. Show me this supposed photograph. Show everyone what you think passes for evidence these days." Mark and Janelle exchanged glances, both shifting their weight slightly. The energy in the room was becoming volatile, unpredictable. In the booth, Evan's earpiece crackled. "Do we cut to break?" He looked at the ratings display. Viewership was spiking by the second. His finger hovered over the controls, torn between stopping a disaster and capturing television gold. Marianne's smile never wavered. Gladly. Marianne reached into the envelope with deliberate slowness, every movement calculated for maximum dramatic effect. She pulled out a grainy, blurred photograph and held it up toward the cameras. "This was taken 3 weeks ago in Santa Barbara. A man who appears to be you, Harry, with an unidentified woman in what witnesses describe as an intimate embrace." The audience exploded into chaos. Lydia Hart's voice rose above the rest. "Show us the proof. If you're going to destroy someone, at least show us something clear." Another voice from the back shouted, "Answer the question, Harry. Just answer it." The studio had transformed from a controlled television set into something resembling a public tribunal. Harry stood up slowly, his eyes never leaving the photograph. "That," he said, his voice cutting through the noise, "is me hugging my friend Sarah after she told me about her father's cancer diagnosis." "A friend," Marianne repeated skeptically. "Yes, a friend. Someone I've known for 15 years. Someone whose father served with mine in the military." Harry's voice was getting stronger, more defiant. "But you wouldn't bother to find that out, would you? Context doesn't trend on Twitter." The audience was divided now, some cheering his explanation, others demanding more proof. A woman near the front yelled, "Why didn't you say that first?" While Lydia countered, "Why should he have to explain hugging a friend?" Harry turned to address the audience directly, bypassing the hosts entirely. "This is exactly why good people stop helping, because every gesture of human kindness gets twisted into a scandal by people who've forgotten what genuine compassion looks like." Marianne wasn't backing down. She produced what looked like a second photograph. "And what about this one? Same location, different angle. She's not crying here, Harry. Kat stood up, her diplomatic training kicking in. Perhaps we should take a step back and focus on the charity work that brought Harry here today. No, Marianne interrupted sharply. We're going to finish this conversation. Evan made his decision in the booth. The ratings were through the roof. He signaled to his team, keep rolling. Harry's laugh was bitter, hollow. This is exactly what's wrong with media today. You take someone trying to do good in the world and tear them apart for entertainment. And this is what's wrong with public figures today, Marianne fired back. Her composure is solid as steel. You want the platform, the influence, the adoration, but you think you're above accountability. The confrontation had evolved beyond personal attacks into something deeper. A philosophical battle being fought in real time. Harry stepped closer to Marianne's chair, his presence commanding the entire studio's attention. Accountability? His voice carried a dangerous edge. I've spent my entire adult life being accountable. Every relationship scrutinized, every friendship questioned, every moment of grief turned into headlines. Where's the accountability for people like you who profit from human misery? Marianne rose to meet him eye to eye. My accountability is to the truth, to the millions of people watching right now who deserve to know if the man they're supporting is who he claims to be. The truth? His voice cracked with emotion. The truth is that my friend's father is dying, and I comforted her. The truth is that you've turned that moment into a weapon because you know scandal sells better than hope. Kat stepped between them, her voice pleading. Both of you, please, think about what you're doing here. Harry, think about your message. Marianne, think about the bigger picture. This isn't just about one interview, it's about what kind of media we want to be. But both combatants were too locked in their battle to hear her. I'm not hiding anything, Harry said, his voice raw, but I refuse to let you turn every human connection I have into fodder for your audience's voyeurism. And I refuse to let public figures dictate what questions I can and can't ask, Marianne shot back. The moment we stop asking hard questions is the moment we stop being journalists. Mark stepped forward slightly, his training telling him the situation was approaching a breaking point. In the audience, even Lydia had fallen quiet, sensing they were witnessing something that would be analyzed and debated for years to come. Marianne glanced toward the control booth, and Evan knew what was coming next. His phone was exploding with messages from network executives, legal teams, and social media managers, but he also knew they were making television history. I have someone who wants to speak, Marianne announced. The studio monitors flickered to life, displaying a grainy video feed. A woman's silhouette appeared on screen, her face obscured by shadow and poor lighting. The audio crackled as she spoke. My name is... I can't give my full name for privacy reasons, the voice said, nervous but determined. But I was there that day in Santa Barbara, and it wasn't just a hug between friends. The studio went dead silent. Every phone was recording now, every eye locked on the screens. Harry's face went white, then red with fury. This is unbelievable, he breathed, staring at the monitor in disbelief. You're actually staging witnesses now? She contacted us, Marianne said calmly. She says she has text messages, photos of her own. I have proof, the silhouetted woman interrupted, her voice gaining confidence. Messages where he told me his marriage was complicated, where he said he needed someone who understood his world. Harry took a step toward the monitor, his voice shaking with rage. This is a complete fabrication. I've never seen this person in my life, never sent messages to anyone saying anything like that. The audience was split down the middle now. Half were booing, demanding proof. The other half sat in stunned silence, watching a man's reputation disintegrate in real time. She claims to have screenshots, Marianne continued, her voice steady as a surgeon's. She's prepared to share them publicly if necessary. If necessary? Harry's voice cracked. For what? For your ratings? For your sick need to destroy someone? In the control booth, Evan's phone was exploding with calls from network executives, legal teams, and social media managers. The live viewership numbers were breaking records, but he could see this was spiraling beyond anyone's control. You have no idea what you've just done, Harry said, his voice trembling with a mixture of rage and something that looked like genuine hurt.
You have no idea." The woman on the screen spoke again. "I'm sorry, Harry, but people deserve to know the truth." Harry stared at the monitor for a long moment, then slowly turned back to Marianne. When he spoke, his voice was dangerously quiet. "This ends now." Harry pushed back from his chair so violently it toppled over, the crash echoing through the studio like a gunshot. Every muscle in his body was coiled with tension as he stood at his full height, towering over the seated hosts. "This is my life!" he shouted, his voice reverberating off the studio walls. "Not your content, not your rating stunt, my actual life." He spun to face the cameras directly, his eyes blazing with a fury that made even the cameramen step back. "You want to know who I am? I'm someone who spent his entire childhood watching his mother get torn apart by people exactly like this. I'm someone who swore I'd never let it happen again, and here I am, letting vultures pick at my bones for entertainment." Marianne rose to her feet, meeting his intensity with steel-cold resolve. "And I'm someone who believes the public has a right to know when their heroes might be frauds." "Heroes?" Harry laughed, but the sound was broken. "I never wanted to be anyone's hero. I just wanted to help people. I wanted to make something good from all the pain I've been through." Lydia Hart was on her feet now, her voice cutting through the tension. "Let him talk. Let him finish." Others in the audience picked up the chant, but just as many were shouting back, "Answer the question! Just answer it!" The studio had become a battleground. Kat stepped between Harry and Marianne, her hands raised in desperation. "Please, both of you, think about what this is doing. Think about what you're creating here."
But Harry was beyond hearing her. He was pacing now, his movements sharp and agitated. "You want to know what this does? This destroys families. This destroys trust. This makes it impossible for anyone to do good work without wondering who's going to stab them in the back for a headline." Mark and Janelle had moved closer, their training telling them this was approaching a dangerous breaking point. But they weren't sure if they were protecting Harry from the situation or the situation from Harry. "I've had enough," Harry said, his voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried more menace than his shouting. "I'm done being your victim." Evan finally made his choice in the booth. He signaled frantically, "No break, keep rolling, we're going to see this through to the end." The studio held its collective breath as Harry and Marianne faced each other in what felt like a final showdown. The air was electric with tension, every eye locked on the two figures at the center of the storm. Marianne's voice cut through the silence like a blade. "If you're innocent, Harry, if this is all lies and manipulation, why does it shake you so much? Why not just calmly deny it and move on?" Harry stopped pacing. For a moment he looked exhausted, like all the fight had gone out of him. When he spoke, his voice was quiet, but carried the weight of years of pain. "Because my truth shouldn't have to be proven to the world to be real," he said. "Because I shouldn't have to justify every friendship, every moment of human connection, every gesture of kindness to satisfy people who've already decided who I am." "And yet," Marianne said, her voice softer now but no less relentless, "here you are, on my stage, in front of my cameras. You chose this platform, Harry. You chose to be here." The words hit him like a physical blow. Harry looked around the studio, at the cameras, at the audience, at Kat's concerned face, at the security guards hovering nearby. His shoulders sagged slightly. "You're right," he said. "I did choose this. I thought I could use this platform to talk about something that mattered. I thought maybe, just this once, it could be about the work instead of the scandal." The audience was completely silent now. Even Lydia Hart had stopped shouting, caught up in the raw vulnerability of the moment. "Maybe that was naive," he continued, his voice growing stronger again. "Maybe in your world, nothing matters except the spectacle, but in my world, in the real world, there are children who need clean water, families who need hope, and communities who need someone to fight for them." Marianne watched him carefully, perhaps seeing something in his face that gave her pause. "And what about accountability to the people who support that work, who believe in you?" Harry met her gaze directly. "I am accountable to them, every day, but I won't be accountable to your version of entertainment masquerading as journalism." The moment stretched between them, heavy with finality.
Security was positioned, the audience was transfixed, and millions were watching this raw, unscripted moment unfold. Harry's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. "Then you've already decided who I am." He turned toward the exit, his decision made. Harry walked off the stage without another word, his footsteps echoing in the sudden, deafening silence. The studio doors closed behind them with a soft click that somehow felt like thunder. For a moment, nobody moved. The audience sat frozen, phones still recording, unsure if they had witnessed a meltdown or a moment of profound dignity. Marianne stood at her position, staring at her notes as if they might explain what had just happened. Kat was the first to find her voice. We're going to take a commercial break," she said, her words barely steady. But Evan had already cut the feed, the red recording lights finally going dark after nearly an hour of uninterrupted chaos. The silence broke like a dam bursting. Audience members erupted in conversation, some defending Harry, others debating what they'd witnessed. Lydia Hart was already pulling out her phone, posting her own shaky video of the confrontation with the caption, "Just watched a man get destroyed on live TV. This isn't journalism, this is blood sport." Within minutes, #Team Harry and #Marianne was right were trending worldwide. The clips were already spreading across every platform. The moment Harry's chair toppled over, his raw confession about his mother, the mysterious witness, his final quiet devastation. In the control booth, Evan's phone buzzed incessantly. Network executives, legal teams, social media managers, everyone wanted to know what they'd just broadcast to millions of viewers. The ratings were astronomical, but so was the potential fallout. Marianne finally moved, gathering her notes with mechanical precision. A producer approached cautiously, but she waved him away. For the first time all morning, she looked uncertain. Backstage, Harry sat alone in the green room, his head in his hands. Through the thin walls, he could hear the chaos continuing in the studio, the debates, the arguments, the endless analysis of what had just transpired. Kat appeared beside him, having slipped away during the commercial break. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "That wasn't supposed to happen like that." Harry looked up, his eyes red but clear. Yes, it was. That's exactly what was supposed to happen. The question is, was it worth it? Neither of them had an answer.